18 races down, only 2 to go to round off what has so far been a fantastic display here of Season 4 of the IMB World Series GT3 EU League. It's been such a fantastic showdown and still a lot on the table. Over £1,000 worth of retail price prizes up for grabs for the top 3 of our 3 categories, all of which are very much up in the air across our Pro-Am and Am standings. We still have a lot of questions left to be uncovered. It is myself, Zach Sweeney, alongside David Christie in the commentary booth. Welcome along, of course. We hope you are all well for this final event of this season. Taking a look then at the pro standings, Neil Butler, a fairly comfortable margin ahead of Stuart Reynolds. 33 points is the gap between the pair of them. While yes, that might sound like a fairly sizable margin, it's not when you take into account the fact that there are no drop rounds in effect for this week. They've all taken them up until round 9. Round 10 makes sure everything is nice and open. So if Neil Butler has something drastically go wrong for him, Stuart Reynolds is for sure one to pick up the pieces. Chris Chatterton rounds off the top 3, though a long way off the top 2. Amin Kjelberg P4, of course, he has had a fairly dismal season in his bid for the championship. Lucas Romano leads the way in the Pro-Am. He has been on fantastic form, fantastic consistency, and of course John Williams most in terms of wins. However, his other results have been quite unfortunate in terms of his luck, especially of recent. They are separated by what is 18 points going into this final round. Again, much closer than the pros and still very wide open. Michael Patterman, Stuart Vinez at 3 and 4. Liam Mahan rounds off the top 5. Those guys settling for what is P3 in the standings. Taking a look then at the AMs, the closest of the 3, Dirk Bouts leads the way. James Slate's in second. Connor Botting and Lewis Boubier, the 2 Prime Motorsport teammates, in 3 and 4. The entirety of the top 4 separated by 27 points going into this final event. And as we say, there are no drop rounds in effect. So we definitely have the entire thing up for grabs. As I say, I'm alongside David Christie for the duration of this broadcast. Once again, Ewan O'Leary has left us, so I'm stuck with the wily old Scotsman. David, how are you, and what are we looking forward to here today at the Mount Panorama circuit?
You absolutely are stuck with me. Unfortunately, listen, I'm so excited. I'm really happy that I can jump in on this final rounds. We're obviously away to Australia, to Mount Panorama, one of my favourite circuits to watch. I'm absolutely terrible at trying to drive around this thing, but you know as well as I do, there's a very high chance of things going horribly wrong tonight, and I've got the popcorn ready. Let's do this.
Well, I've got myself a Red Bull and a Monster ready to go. So if I am a little bit crazy, I'm sure David will be able to calm me down. Taking a look then at the grid order for the final event. Of course, they don't take to qualifying for the second race. This is what they've just done. Callum Beeman sets the pole time for the pros. He'll be joined by Andy Miller in the Ferrari on that front row. Championship leader Neil Butler and Chris Chatterton share row 2 with Kieran Smart rounding off the top 5. Thomas Dandridge will line up alongside him with Yamantas P7. Harry Wills P8, a pretty good qualifying for him. Stuart Reynolds a lackluster P9 in his bid for a miracle championship win. Kenny Harriman rounds off the top 10 for the pros, and looking a little bit further down there, Carl Pearce takes pole for the AMs. We completely skipped the Pro-Ams, but anyway, we'll roll with it. Kurt Van Hoenacker rounds off the front row of the grid for the AMs. Navarro de Boiva in the Belgian, a fantastic qualifying for him, all the way up there in the nosebleeds. Mark Bailey P4, Gus Franken your top 5. Lewis Boubier there in P6, Jasper Charks P7. Jürgen Reigns will join him on the 4th row of the grid there in 8th. Dirk Bouts, Jürgen Knockout round off the top 10. Connor Botting, James Slates P11 and 12. A very shaken up championship fight. Lewis Boubier up there in P6. He's going to be trying to make as much progress as possible throughout the duration of this race. We are just moments away from the green flag running. It would be a nice look to go through the Pro-Ams, and here they are. Lucas Romano on his bid to win the Pro-Am Championship makes up a whole Belgian 1-2 lineup on that front row. Michael Patterman P3 with Stuart Vinez P4. Jeremy de Boiva rounds off the top 5 with Dean Timms in 6th. Ashraf El-Haddad, Duo Houston in your 4th row with John Williams, Francois Peugeot P9 and 10. Simon Dodd rounds off the grid, and before we get going, David, I'm going to ask you the predictions. What are we thinking?
Death, destruction and chaos, all by turn 1. That is exactly what I am thinking on this one. Listen, your guess is as good as mine on this. I just do not have a clue what we are going to see right now.
Well, of course, we'll have to wait and see what is in store for us. You can see there Andy Miller in the Ferrari. He'll be alongside the Mercedes for the penultimate time of season number 4. We get ready to go racing here in Bathurst. Andy Miller takes the pole position. Of course, 25 minutes of racing action left to go, and we are go. Harry Wills shares him on the front row of the grid. Callum Beeman trying to make his way up into second as they plummet their way in towards turn 1 for the first time. Harry Wills, Callum Beeman running side by side. The Porsche of Beeman getting the better of him. Back to the Pro-Ams already. Michael Patterman, John Williams, your front row of the grid. It was very shaken up for the griddle that we went through. They are underway in the Pro-Ams. Michael Patterman leads them underway. The BMW of Williams and Lucas Romano, the two championship rivals, side by side on that run in towards turn number 1. Michael Patterman with a fairly sizable lead as it stands. John Williams able to stay in second. Here's Juha Huutonen running side by side with Jeremy De Boy from that BMW. Back to the AMS for one final start to kick us underway for race number 1. Lewis Bouvier, James Slates, your front row of the grid. The Audi with a fantastic jump. Everyone being fairly civil, at least in the opening stages of this race. The pros already going into sort of the skyline and the dips and things at the crest of the mountain. Gus Frank in P6 trying to hang on to Jasper Charks. The slipstream run down in towards turn number 2 is something to behold. Andy Miller, fantastic start in that Ferrari.
He's absolutely cleared off at this early stage of the race. This is exactly what he wanted. Whether or not he'll be able to hold on to this is another matter, entirely. But this is exactly what he wants. 25-minute race here. Overtaking opportunities at Bathurst are so slim and far between that he is doing everything that he needs to do. So very, very impressed with Andy Miller. We've seen this a couple of times as well, Zach, through the season. Andy being able to absolutely knock it out the park with qualifying. Maybe doesn't go his way during the race itself, but I'm very, very confident that he's going to get a very good result out of this.
Ever since the week 13 changes for the GTs, that Ferrari in the hands of Andy Miller has looked mightily quick. He's always sort of been there or thereabouts in terms of pace, I think, has Miller. And that is definitely coming into fruition for him today. Fingers crossed for him. It will be a great way to round off what has been a fairly successful Season 4 campaign for him. Launching, of course, his first space mission back at Watkins Glen. So doing the Americans proud and trying to get to the moon. Kenny Harriman, though, for the pros, having a bit of an off in that BMW. That is on the run, I believe, into the final corner out of this chicane and tucked up behind the Mercedes there of Yamantas. Just got a little bit caught up over the grass, and, well, that is an easy mistake to make.
Absolutely is. I mean, thankfully, it's very, very minimal in terms of the, the damage that's going to have caused. And Harry Wills into the pits. What is it with Harry Wills in every single round? To be fair, I think it might be to do with the fact that I messaged him before the race saying good luck and try to do us proud. And he's obviously tried to avoid that car. That is a brutal bit of contact for Harry Wills there.
Oh, yeah. Not ideal. Suboptimal. As Lewis McGlade would say, into the pit lane, up onto the jacks to repair that damage. I don't believe he's going to have any chance in the rest of this race. Bit of an update then. Andy Miller still leads the way. Surprise, surprise. Stuart Reynolds up into second place in that Mercedes, doing a great job. At least, if Harry Wills can't, at least his teammate might be able to. His championship rival, though, of Neil Butler, down in 5th place. So it'll only be a marginal points gain of 6 points for Stuart Reynolds in this race. And that's nowhere near the 37 that he needs to take the championship. In the Pro-Ams, Michael Patterman leads the way. John Williams directly in behind, about 8/10 back. Is the BMW versus the Porsche. And again, going back to those week 13 balance of performance changes, since then, both the Porsche and the BMW have looked mightily quick. However, at the hands of Miller and Bouvier, they don't care. They're in the Ferrari, they're in the Audi, and they're leading the way fairly comfortably.
Yeah, the Audi looking much more stable since those week 13 changes, those the BOP GT3 updates that came through, and it's just nice to see everything getting shaken up. I mean, the Audi, since its Evo 2 version, it's been a much more refined animal. The original GT3 Audi I absolutely detested because it was so difficult to drive and it would kill you at the blink of an eye. But this thing is... It does show a lot of promise, certainly before the changes, and now, yeah, I think it's a great choice for him to have made, and for it now to come through towards the end of the season. Possibly going to be the icing on the cake, especially with so many championships to be decided tonight, possibly even here in this first race, because it's going to take contenders out of that slim mathematical chance.
It's a lot to keep up with, and I'll be completely honest, if I get it completely wrong, don't blame me. Blame David, just cause why not? But yeah, it's never my fault. Leary is usually the man. Oh my word, Simon Dodd. Oh my. That was sketchy, I think, from him, is the only way you can put that. Juho Huhtinen trying to make the most of it. To the outside then, as they run their way down this back straight in towards turn number 2 at Quarry Bend. Is he going to be able to go the long way round in that Mercedes? It is a very long way round. Peached Simon Dodd on the cab there on the inside, and unfortunately that is the place lost for the BMW. Back to this fight then, Kieran Smart versus Arish Imantas for P6 in the pros. And Bathurst, it's a different kettle of fish. It's a very tricky circuit to find a way through, as we see Stuart Viners proving that point, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a little clip of the wall. Oh, the back end just washes out. I mean, that's a big hit for the back of the car, and he's done already. He's escaped back to the pits there. So, again, it just shows you how a minor issue like that can have a big impact on the car and on the field as well. The other thing as well is that it looks like we've lost Ashraf El Haddad. So his car looks like it's already, his car's already had an incident there. So let's see earlier on what's happened to him. Coming out the final corner.
What's that? All over the grass already. That's sketchy. He's got, of course, the BMW just in behind. Is it Ascend maybe? They are teammates, or at least very similarly liveried. No contention there. Just lets him through. Yeah. Ashraf El Haddad, he looks fine for this entire time, unless we've just called it very early. There's the mistake we saw from Simon Dodd that allowed Juho Huhtinen through. And a little bit later on, maybe a hardware failure, potentially.
Yeah, it just looks like either the steering wheel or the pedals have just gone. That's a very bizarre incident, but either way, I mean, yet again, that's more points lost and gained for drivers.
Yeah, for sure. And in championships, as close as this one, it is interesting, particularly in this AM, while, of course, Ashraf El Haddad isn't a part of the AMs. For those in the AMs, we've got 4 drivers. Lewis Boubier, you've got Connor Botting, James States, and Dirk Bouts in the championship hunt. At the moment, leading the way is, of course, the man, Lewis Boubier. He's joined by... what's his name? It is there is James States, of course. Had a blonde moment again. I'm great. I'm really on it today. I need to drink more of that Red Bull. I think is the course of action for that one. Lewis Boubier though is leading the way, so at least doing his job quite well. He is the lowest of the 4 in the standings in P4, and still a fair long way off. But when you're in a championship charge, David, when you have that miracle outside slim chance of getting it, taking the win, and putting everything you can do, you're doing everything you can do, is Lewis Boubier at the moment. Winning the race, you can't physically score more points than this. It's in the hands of other people for things to go wrong. And he's putting himself in the best position possible if/when the things go wrong for other people in that championship hunt. At least he's right at the top and scoring the maximum amount of points.
Yeah, and as much as that's all he can do, that's also when it's the most frustrating as well, because imagine getting yourself to that position and doing everything like that, doing it like a proper solid race, and it's still not enough. For me, that would be more sort of like difficult to swallow than it being of your own accord. But the problem is that when you get to these championships, the drivers here are such high caliber that it makes it really difficult for anyone to have an off day and not be punished for the rest of the season for it. So it just goes to show how important those other 9 rounds of the championship have been.
Do you know what the answer to that is, though?
Go for it.
Just have a better season. Easy as that. Right? If you win every race, right, you can't lose. It's as simple as that. Just have a better season.
But that never happens. I mean, if it did happen, right, we'd be complaining about, oh, it's boring, it's absolute domination. Because I've seen that from other championships. But in all real terms, it almost never happens, and it makes it so difficult. And that's what makes this championship so enjoyable, the fact that nearly every single race we've had a different podium. It's kept us to the fact that we're 10 rounds in, what's that, about 18 races in, and we still have no idea how this championship is going to go.
Yeah, I think that is a good point. And you say it never happens in terms of perfect seasons. Literally just over the last couple of days, as we'll come back to that in just a second. Simon Dodd's having a couple more issues in that Eclipse Racing Team BMW, going up over the crest, down the hill braking zone. Tricky corner on the circuit, just backwards into the barrier, tapping his rear end. Very easily done. Fortunately carrying on in this race, though, with a bit of a shaken confidence. Hersheymantis as well, going through this very fast left-hander. You really got to be committed as you ride up at the peak of the mountain. Oh my word, that was close to, I believe, Liam Mahern or Thomas Dandridge, either of the two. Managed to spin around and keep it going again, did Hersheymantis, but he is going to be in a bid for something better over the course of this race. Back to the live action, and talking of perfect seasons, literally over the last couple of days in the FIA South European Cup of 2022, Dominic Blyer took first, second and first over the course of that season to win the championship. And honestly, me and Lewis, we were just like, yeah, he's won it. There was no way we could physically hype up that championship other than the fact that Blyer was going to DNF or disconnect or anything like that. That was the only chance. But with this, it's not like we have to, push a false narrative. Our job as commentators is to try and hype things up and make things exciting. And we really don't have to try with these guys.
We really don't, and again, that's a very interesting topic, because obviously our job, as you said, as commentators, is to make it as exciting and as enjoyable as possible while putting over all the facts and figures and all that sort of stuff. So, it's our job to make it as exciting as we possibly can, and it's so nice when you don't. It's so refreshing when you don't have to do that. I've been in endurance championships where 2 hours into an 8-hour race and you've got one battle that's between 3 seconds of each other and everybody else is like 10 seconds away, and it makes it so difficult. But with this, it's the opposite. We almost can't keep up with all of the chaos and shenanigans that goes on. And just to prove that, Navarro de Boiver, it looks like has had a bit of a moment coming out of turn one. Let's see what he's done here. He's across the start-finish line. Now this again, it flags it up as a crash, and it's not really a crash. It's more just he's went late into the brakes into turn one. We'll have to give him that one, I guess.
He's not quite crashed. Navarro de Boiver, of course, has wished for a better season. He's boasted a couple of good results. Here's a move then. Johan Reigns getting passed by Carl Pearce into turn 2 at Quarry. And, of course, they've got Jürgen Ockar in behind them in that BMW. This fight for the final place inside the top 10. They're going to want that P10 because they're going to want to start on pole for race number 2. A little bit further forward, I should say, in terms of the AM Tower. It's Jasper Charts and Connor Botting trying to chase down Gus Franken for 6th place. Connor Botting, of course, hoping to consolidate maybe this AM Championship. Of course, the addition of James States and Dirk Bounce into the mix. It's not just the two Prime Motorsport Audis of Connor Botting and Lewis Boubier at the helm. They've got the other two to worry about, and they are both actually behind James States and Dirk Bounce into this final round. Connor Botting is going to want to try and make up as many places as possible, because you can see there, Bounce up in 4th and James States in 2nd. That is a good, that is, 8 points lost to Dirk Bounce, and then would be 12 points lost to James States. Not what the young Brit would want at all.
No, and again, you said it about 5 minutes ago about trying to put yourself in the best possible position. That's what everybody is trying to do right now here, as you see Connor Botting closing right up to the back. And the problem with that is that, sometimes it'll work out that way, but sometimes it just doesn't. It doesn't. You get those races, Zach, where it feels like everything is conspiring against you. Everything is going against the grain and just not happening for you. And then, honestly, in those races, there's quite literally nothing that you can do to make that right.
For sure. 13 minutes and 45 seconds into this race, then just over halfway through race number 1 of round 10. You really do have to tame Mount Panorama, and there are not many that can do it. A very prestigious circuit. One may acclaim it to be the best circuit in all of motorsport. And, well, they definitely have a good justification for it. The way it undulates, the roller coaster nature, and the driver's challenge that you get around Bathurst, the carnage, the chaos, and all the good racing that come with it. Also, John Williams on the back of Michael Patterman, Lucas Romano and Dean Timms also in this 4-way fight for the lead of the Pro-Ams. This is the closest fight of the 3 categories. Lewis Boubier and Andy Miller running away with it in their respective ones. John Williams well and truly in the slipstream. The BMW versus the Porsche in terms of straight line speed might have the advantage. You can see how the number 8 is closing that gap in towards the fast right-hand kink, in towards the chase. Heavy braking zone, of course. To the left-hand side goes John Williams. The move for the race lead. Michael Patterman sees him coming, lets him through. Not a hard fight at all. Does not want to be losing time to the likes of Lucas Romano and Dean Timms in behind. Is Michael Patterman going to try and launch a counter-attack? Not on this particular occasion. John Williams takes the helm at the front of the Pro-Ams.
Beautiful, beautiful move there. And you've got to say that that was kind of timed several corners earlier on there, because Williams, the way that he just lined that up with Patterman, he knew exactly where that car was going to be weak. And this is the great thing about it, it's not even anywhere near over, because Patterman's going to jump in behind Williams right now, try and get a little bit of that slipstream, but it's going to be a case of whether that Porsche can do anything with that car right now. It might just be a case of sit down, wait behind that car, and let's see what happens. The problem with that is that you've then got Lucas Romano and Dean Timms poised there, and that makes me feel a little bit nervous with how fast they've been this season, Zach.
Lucas Romano especially. Dean Timms, of course, the reigning AM champion of Season 3, promoted up into the Pro-Ams for Season 4, and unfortunately has had a fairly lackluster season, it must be said, though trying to boast some good results to the latter stages of Season number 4. Well, it's not the championship charge to secure a second title for Dean Timms. He's had a string of good results, for sure. John Williams trying to break away, using this middle portion of the circuit to best advantage through Skyline, the S's, and of course the Dipper before you head in towards Forest Elbow and down the Conrod Straight. Perfectly poised opportunity here for John Williams to try and break away a gap from Michael Patterman to get away from the slipstream in towards the Forest Elbow. Perfect opportunity to get a good exit, of course. Again, you need that good exit because as well, you dip downhill, then rise back up. And if you haven't got a good exit, you are definitely going to struggle. The Porsche, though, for sure is struggling in terms of straight line speed. Not even the slipstream is allowing him to close even a tenth.
Yeah, it looks like it's a done deal because he's just not able to hold on to the back end. However, it's under braking where that Porsche really seems to shine. I think also what Patterman will be wanting to take some light from is the fact that those BMWs, you know, especially coming down to the elbow, have really been struggling in terms of that back end washing away from the back of that car.
Yeah, again, it's for sure a driver circuit is Bathurst. There are so many things that you as a driver can do. Again, we'll come back to that in a second, because I think Reigns is going to prove our point through Skyline at the S's and then into the Dipper where the car's weight just goes straight away. And that is probably the worst place you want a temperamental car. You can see the other BMW working his way through. Carl Pierce, I think, maybe having a similar incident. No, he's not too far in front, actually, of Johan Reigns, and into Forest Elbow, just loops the car around. And that's the thing about a circuit that undulates as much as Bathurst. It's literally built into the side of a mountain. Of course, it's going to have undulation, but the weight transfer, the inertia of the car, as soon as the track falls away from you, you get those negative Gs, the car just doesn't know what to do, and it will completely loop round on you. Pretty unpredictably as well, it must be said. It's not something you can drive around or correct. It's just one of those things that you have to be mightily careful of going into it and play that into a factor as to how committed you are through probably one of the deadliest sequences in motorsport.
Absolutely, and it's made even more precarious, I guess, with iRacing. So as you know, all sim racing platforms are different. They've all got their unique benefits and weaknesses as well. And one of the weaknesses that I think iRacing has got is this issue where you kind of have this point of you've got grip, you've got grip, you've got grip, and then you've got no grip, and the car is in an uncontrollable spin. You cannot recover that spin once it gets past a certain point, and that's the issue that a lot of these drivers have, is trying to balance that car right on the edge, making sure that they get all of the traction that they possibly can and take as much speed in without sending it over that edge. And thankfully, one of the cool things about that week 13 change that we were talking about is the overhauled physics system, is that drivers now saying that they have a lot more feeling, a lot more understanding of where that limit is with the cars and that ability to control them. What I'm noticing here, actually, Patterman starting to close back up again onto the back of Williams there, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, the Porsche is a car that is notoriously good in terms of mid-corner pace and acceleration. the Porsche has just always been good at just getting your foot down and being committed, which at Bathurst is important. A lot of apexes lead into uphill climbs, which you need that good acceleration for. A lot of tight and twisty sections that the Porsche is going to excel. Of course, it is very difficult to find where that limit is. For me, I would never even dream of touching the Porsche. I find it to be way too twitchy for me, in the sense that, yes, I've only driven it on ACC as opposed to iRacing, and the differences are going to be there. But the evidence that I've seen from the Porsche is that you touch the brake and the car will want to spin around on you. So while it's quick, it's not one that I would want for consistency, and definitely not one that I would want here at Bathurst. But in the hands of Michael Patterman, it for sure is working. But again, it's that thing of he can't make a move on John Williams mid-corner, mid-apex, straight off the acceleration zones where the Porsche is quick. He needs to make those moves down the straight, which, guess what, is where the Porsche struggles. And that is why it doesn't matter how quick Michael Patterman is, John Williams, as long as he gets a good exit down the Conroy straight, down the pit straight, whatever it is, maybe even the one on that round towards turn 2, whatever, as long as he gets a good exit, he's fine.
I do agree in everything that you've just said there. I mean, you're seeing the fact that Romano just behind there able to close right up onto the tail end of Michael Patterman there. So I really feel bad for Michael Patterman, because Lucas Romano looks like he's been trying to desperately get his way up into it as well. So it just leaves the question, where is Patterman getting all this time from then? It has to be through this first half of the course here, as we've got less than 4 minutes to go in this first race, the penultimate race of the season. I can't believe we're already at that point, but you know, it's here, the Porsche really able to slip right into the slipstream of the BMW, but it's just not got the straight line speed. That's what seems to be the absolute killer thing for the BMW here.
Look at Lucas Romano closing in on Michael Patterman as well. Lucas Romano, of course, taking not as many wins as John Williams. I think John Williams has 6. To Lucas Romano's probably about 2 or 3, I think, goes the way of the Belgian. But Lucas Romano has boasted mighty consistency. He is a driver that very much deserves to be leading the way in the Pro-Am Championship. And it does just prove how vital of an attribute consistency is. The gap at the top of the Pro-Ams, just 17 points going into, actually no, it's not, it's 18 points going into this final round. As it stands, John Williams will be gaining 4, bringing the gap down to 14 points. That means he's going to have to finish 5 places ahead of Lucas Romano in race number 2 if he wants to win this Pro-Am Championship. Lucas Romano for P3, dropping that gap down to what is going to be 14 points. Actually, no, it'd be 16 points. I do apologise. It's going to be the case of, does he settle for 3rd? Does he take those 16 points? Or does he want to make sure... Actually, no, I don't know what I'm talking about. It is going to be 14 points. Does he want to keep 14 points? Or does he want to bridge the gap so that he's only losing those 2 points and making it 16, is what I'm trying to say. How much does he settle? How much of a compromise does he make? Because it is so risky going for a move here at Bathurst. It can so easily go wrong. And when it is only 18 points at the top of the standings in the Pro-Ams, if he makes a mistake, if he loses the car, if he crashes or whatever, he can tumble down that Pro-Am field and he can lose a lot more points than just 4.
See, I've asked that question as a commentator before to drivers, like, oh, you know, how much are the points playing on your mind? And that's exactly the sort of thought process I have. I'm like, oh, well, you know, surely they must be thinking, oh, I only need to get... And 9 times out of 10, the answer that I get back is a resounding, I don't care. It's literally, I take every single race as it is, and if there's a position there that's I can safely take, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to, you know, do any crazy unnecessary risks, but I'm not going to do something that I would do in any other round of the championship, which I can understand, but I guess it's... I'm a little bit more intimidated, I guess, by wanting to finish well, whereas for a lot of these drivers, they just want to finish these races in the best possible position, which I can also have to admire as well. It's nice that they leave it up to the actual races.
Yeah, I think that when you overthink things too much, it goes very wrong. And in the sense, definitely in the championship finale, the more you think about the points, the more you are prone to making a mistake. This is Thomas Dandridge having a bit of a look to the right-hand side of Kieran Smart. They run their way down the Conroe straight. A bit of a kink in this right-hander. If Kieran Smart can keep it on the outside, use that outside swing of momentum, is trying to keep a nose versus his fellow BMW, though has to back out into the chase. I believe this is going to be the final lap for Andy Miller, now crossing the line-ish. It is going to go on to the final lap of this race. One more go around for Andy Miller, and he's going to take a sensational victory for race number 1. This fight as well for the lead in the Pro-Ams is one to also be decided. Who's going to come out on top? John Williams, Michael Patterman, Lucas Romano, or Dean Timms? Any of the 4 can take it, and they've only got one more go around Bathurst to settle it.
It's not looking anywhere near as decisive as I thought it was a couple of laps ago with these 4 cars here. I thought Patterman was a sitting duck in that Porsche, but now the group really sort of squeezed together right now here. You get the impression that if that BMW even thinks about putting a foot wrong, then he is going to have 3 cars behind him that will absolutely have him for breakfast right now. I feel also a little bit bad for Andy Miller right now, because out in front we've not really had a chance to see him at all. But listen, I said right at the beginning about, you know, if he's able to get away with this, the kind of track that Bathurst is, it leads itself to the fact he's got a very good chance of getting a very good position here, and that's exactly what has happened here. Fantastic run for Andy Miller, likes to flag potentially is what we've got on the store here.
He's been on top form, and sometimes the races where you aren't on broadcast are the ones you want, because cannot fault Andy Miller at all in this race. Took pole position, of course, his first of the season, regardless of reverse grids and things like that, because they don't really count. In terms of qualifying poles, the first of his season, he'll come across the line in a couple of corners time to take his victory here in round number 19, race 19 of round 10 here of the IMB World Series GT3 EU. Andy Miller has had a sensational victory. One more corner left to go. He'll take it by 4.3 seconds ahead of Stuart Reynolds. Andy Miller across the line takes victory here in Bathurst. What a drive from him. Stuart Reynolds comes across the line to take second place. But again, those races where you're not on broadcast, you've had a quiet one, you've been so far out in front, we don't care about you. You're in a separate race. That's exactly what he would have wanted. Callum Beeman rounds off the podium. Chris Chatterton, Neil Butler 4 and 5. What I am interested in, though, is this fight right here. John Williams, Michael Patterman, Lucas Romano, Dean Timms. John Williams looks poised to take what has been yet another victory. He stretches his count to 7 in this championship, taking the victory, trying to close the championship points gap to Lucas Romano, now down to 14. Across the line comes John Williams, a 7th victory this season. Michael Patterman, Lucas Romano, your podium. Dean Timms close, but not quite close enough for a podium. Gemma Boyver rounds off the top 5, and Lewis Bouvier will be the first of the AMPs to see the checkered flag in his bid for a maybe in the championship running. James States, though, doing a great job is to close the gap to Dirk Bouts in that fight for the first place. Lewis Bouvier across the line takes the checkered flag. James States in P2, and Mark Bailey and Dirk Bouts 3 and 4. An interesting race, it must be said, David. I did thoroughly enjoy that one. And when it comes to the championships, it's close. All 3 of our championship leaders lost points in that first race.
That's not exactly what you want from that, from the penultimate race of the season. You know, it's not like we are scripting this and trying to make it more interesting, but my God, it certainly does. It does our job for us. It's lovely, because we go into the final race going, yeah, we genuinely have no idea what is going to go on. Listen, if anything though, Zach, this has just absolutely ratcheted up the pressure for our race number 2 coming up.
Yeah, of course, I cannot wait. We'll run through the results, and of course, we'll take a word with any drivers who want to come in and have a bit of an interview. It's not often that we have interviews between race 1 and race 2, but I can see John Williams is waiting in the wings to talk to us all about his run in race number 1. Waiting for the last across the line, and here we are. We're going to take a look as to those results of race number 1 here for round 10 at Mount Panorama. Andy Miller takes the victory for the pros. Stuart Reynolds, Callum Beeman join him on the podium. A good result for Stuart Reynolds, though, with Neil Butler in P5 is not the points gain that he would have wanted. Chris Chatterton in P4. Neil Butler, as I say, rounding off the top 5. There we go. There's the famous Bathurst jump that we love to see. That was Neil Butler, I think, collecting someone else. Thomas Dandridge, P6, Kieran Smart, Ariel Shamantas, Kenny Harriman, and Harry Wills, your top 10 for the pros. We'll quickly have a look and the run through, of course, through the Pro-Am. Cycling to those now. John Williams, 7/10 clear of Michael Patterman for the lead of the Pro-Ams. Lucas Romano rounds off the podium. 14 points is the gap in the Pro-Am Championship lead going into race 2, the final race of this season. Dean Timms, Jeremy De Boiver, 4 and 5. Juho Uutinen, what a drive from the Finn, it must be said. In P6, Francois Pedro, P7, Simon Dodge, Stuart Viners, Ashraf El Haddad, your top 10, with Dede Vlaming not even taking to the start in P11. One more grid to go through then is Lewis Bouvier, who takes victory. James States, Mark Bailey, Dirk Bouts, Navarro De Boiver, the top 5. Jasper Sharks and Gus Franken, 6 and 7. Corner Botting, a lackluster P8 with Kurt Van Hoenacker and Jurgen Knockout, your top 10. Johan Reigns, Carl Pearce, 11th and 12th to round off the AM field. And well, David, that was a race to remember, as we say. With John Williams there waiting in the interview booth, we'll have a word with him in just a second. He's surely going to be elated.
Yeah, he's going to be absolutely delighted with that performance, and rightly so. He did very, very well, but it's kind of what we come to expect from John at this point into the season now as well. He just seems to be able to bring out every single round these stellar performances if he can avoid, all the calamity with everyone else going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to do is going to drag in John Williams. What a race that was for you, good sir. You didn't do too bad over the course of race 1. Good step forward in terms of the championship. 14 points, if my maths are right, going into race 2. Are you focusing a lot on the points, or are you just doing the driving?
I'm just doing the driving. There's nothing I can do now other than just drive and hope Lucas falls back a bit. But other than that, yeah, there's not much I can do apart from doing my own race and try and get the 8th win of the season next race.
Talking of that 8th win, taking your 7th today, how much do those wins matter? I mean, you messaged me just a little bit before the broadcast earlier on today about how the fact is you've got 7 wins now over the course of this season. Lucas Romano only, I think, 3 or 4. Significantly less wins over the course of this season, yet he's been on such top form in terms of consistency. You guys have been very good rivals. Have you enjoyed this showdown?
I have enjoyed it, but I've voiced my concerns about the points, and there's not a place to go into it. But as I say, 7th win, he's got 4, and if it wasn't for one race where I was unlucky and got taken out at turn 2, I'd be probably 40 points clear right now and not being able to be touched. So, but that's racing, we're going to race 2 now and just look for another win, and hopefully the luck's on my side throughout the rest of the grid.
Of course, and final question before we let you go. P10 for the start of race 2. What's your aim? You're just going to see how it goes? Are you going to be aggressive in those opening stages? Do something different in strategy? How are you going to make those places up?
I'm going to go aggressive.
Love it. Nice. Awesome. Short and sweet. Love it. Awesome. Okay, so that was John Williams, of course. Take care. Best of luck for race 2. And maybe we'll see you as champion. Even if it's a runner-up, you've definitely got a good prize going your way.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
John Williams, of course, race winner for the Pro-Ams. We are going to take a word with our Pro Victor, Andy Miller. Hello. Lovely to see you up here. That was a good race for you.
Wasn't too bad, yeah.
Nice, yeah, fair enough.
Ferrari's very good round there. I think the bop's in the ideal place. Ferrari's where it should be, which is good.
Yeah, I think so. After obviously the week 13, you did. You've been on form over the last couple of weeks. You've really impressed, and it's big step forwards for you. You didn't see much on broadcast. Those are sometimes the races that you love, isn't it?
No.
Is it not? You like being.
Stuart kept me going all that race. To be fair to him, yeah, I can't say I enjoyed it that much. Saw the last couple of laps, so I know I could just take it steady and bring it home. But yeah, I had to push for the majority of it, so a bit nerve-wracking around there. Obviously, how close the walls are, but no, good race all in all, so can't complain.
No, you can't indeed. While for you, unfortunately, it's not a championship campaign you're particularly focused about. That does mean you haven't really got much to lose. P10 for the starting grid of race 2. Are you just going for it?
Yeah, why not? Nothing to lose. So Ferrari's rapid in a straight line, so sends them down the mountain, I think.
Love it. That is the attitude we like to hear from Andy Miller. Well, we look forward to seeing you take the jump at the end of race 2 also to reinitiate the Andy Miller Space program. Take care. Best of luck to you, and maybe we'll see you at the end of race 2.
Cheers, guys.
That, of course, Andy Miller. We're going to take a word with the big dog, Harry Wills, finally, before we throw to a quick break before the end of race number 2. Harry Wills, that was a race, once again, that could have been for you. You had a bit of contact in the opening stages. It wasn't really how you would have wanted that race to go.
No, I don't think it was a race at all, really. It was kind of like...
It was a start.
Yeah, sheer panic until a certain moment, and then all the wheels were pointed in opposite directions. So 20 minutes of required repairs. That was a complete waste of time, really. But yeah, it was what it was. I thought I'd just jump up here and say hello. I just want to say, first of all, massive thank you to you guys for putting on the show this evening and putting on the show for the last 10 weeks for these guys. I think it's been absolutely fantastic to see it. I've watched the broadcast back. It's just been really good. It's been one of the closest championships we've had at the top flight of pretty much all the categories. And I think we've always had at least one, I think, of the 3 tied up before it goes into the final round. Still a little bit up in the air as to who can win what. It's fairly certain that what's going to happen. But with the last 2 rounds of the championship, it is no drop scores. So if they get binned at this moment, then that's it. It's not like they can use a drop round or anything in these final 2 rounds. So it's it's really, really quite exciting stuff.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's been such a thoroughly enjoyable season, and we get one more go around, 50 more minutes of season 4. As you say, it's just been a titanic fight all the way through among all 3 categories. We'll maybe get a word with you after race 2, but if that isn't the case, what are we expecting for season 5? Have you got any news for us?
Yeah, well, there is a couple of bits ongoing. There is potentially a new sponsor that's coming on board that we've sort of done a partial deal with at the minute, and a couple of new additions to calendar-wise. Just to say, we're probably looking to get the next season started in the beginning of February. So for any drivers out there that are watching this or anything that does watch it back that wish to take part, just be a part of the Discord. Keep your eyes peeled. We'll be working on rules and everything else, but obviously, the task in hand is to get season 4 signed off with a bit of a bang. Hopefully, not too much of a bang.
Not literally.
No, hopefully not. No, not again. Anyway.
Not for you. Flashback.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, no, thank you very much, guys. I really, really appreciate the work you put in. You really do make it happen, and I can't thank you enough for all the efforts you have. So thank you.
Very kind of you. Thank you very much. That is Harry Wills. We wish you the best of luck for race 2, and maybe you can bring it home without a bang. Finally, this season and last season, actually. Let's say that much. But yeah, thank you very much, of course, for all your hard work, and everyone behind the scenes as well for making sure we actually do have cars on track. Because without them, us in the commentary booth, we would have nothing to watch. Best of luck. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you.
And you. There we go then, ladies and gents. That are the interviews between the interval of race 1 and race 2. Myself, Zach Sweeney, David Christie. We're going to step aside for just a moment before we get underway for 50 minutes. One final time for season number 4. Race number 2 coming your way very soon.
Don't stop. Don't stop.
Welcome back then to the IMB World Series GT3 EU. You join us for the latter part of round 10 here at Mount Panorama. The season finale, of course, of season number 4. Race number 2 is just moments away. 50 minutes long, reverse grid, of course, of the top 10 and a pit stop along the way as well. It is still myself, Zach Swinney, joined alongside in the commentary booth by David Christie. And David, wow, what a race one that we saw. Big shake-ups potentially in terms of the championship. A lot of hungry drivers as well. And the mountain to tame along with it. Double length in terms of race 2. The consistency of race 1. You're going to need to double that for race 2.
You absolutely are. Strategy is going to come into the mix as well here, Zach, in terms of pit stops, in terms of fueling up and things like that as well. I think that it's a difficult one to say because we've always seen that race 2 has more at stake than race 1, but yet race 2 has tended to be calmer. Maybe that's because of the longer nature of it. However, I think that's going to be different tonight. I think with this one, the drivers know how much this means. This is their last huzzah. This is their last chance to get the points that they need, because it's not just the championship battles that are going on in terms of the leaders. It's also all the way through in terms of all the way through the different championships, like for 3rd, 4th, 5th place in championship.
Yeah, for sure. There are a lot at stake, and talking you through the grid order now before we go back to that point in terms of prizes. For the pros, it's Kenny Harriman, P10 in the first race season lineup on pole position for race 2. Juventus will join him on the front row. Kieran Smart, Thomas Dandridge 3 and 4, with Neil Butler a P5, pretty bang smack in the middle there, and ahead of his championship rival is Stuart Reynolds. Chris Chatterton P6, Callum Beeman, as I say, Stuart Reynolds in P8. Andy Miller, Harry Wills 9 and 10. Harry Wills, of course, taken to the back of the grid after not finishing race 1. Stuart Reynolds, Simon Dodd, your front row for the pro-rounds, Francois Pedro and Juho Hooten on the second row of the grid. Joey De Boiver rounds off your top 5. Dean Timms, Lucas Romano, Michael Patterman 6, 7, 8, with John Williams and Ashraf El Haddad 9 and 10. Daniel Van Mink, of course, rounding off the pro-am field as well. Jurgen Knockout takes pole for the AMS ahead of Kurt Van Hoenacker. Connor Botting in P3. He's still in a slight hunt for the championship. A little bit of a miracle worker, though, if he does manage to pull out the Dutchman of Gus Frank in P4 with Jasper Sharks, Navarro De Boiver, your 3rd row of the grid. Dirk Bouts, Mark Bailey, 7 and 8. James States, Lewis Bouvier make each other's company on the 5th row of the grid. Johan Reigns and Carl Pierce, both of them not making the end of race 1 either. Rounds off the back of our field. Couple of corners left to go on this pace lap, David. What are we in store for the unpredictable nature of race 2?
Well, I said chaos for race 1. I've got to be honest, I was really disappointed because it was very tame. Everybody handled themselves very, very well. I predicting that we will see the reappearance of the legendary Bathurst space program. That's going to be making a reappearance tonight. Other than that, I think we're going to see a lot of physicality between our championship rivals through all of the different parts of the field, through Pro-Am and through Am as well.
Underway then for race number 2, Kieran Smart, Yamantas, your front row. We are go for the final race of season number 4. You can see the Porsche of the 22 trying to work his way through. Thomas Dandridge settling into 4th place down the back straight, of course, and that run towards turn 2. Pretty clean for the pros in the opening stages of this race. Cutting back to the Pro-Ams, of course, Stuart Viner, Simon Dodge, your front row, and they are go as well. A pretty dominant start so far for the 61 BMW. To the inside, though, goes Francois Peugeot for P3. Yuya Hooten in the Mercedes, going to try and go the long way around the outside and is going to get the slipstream of the 2 in front. And again, a fairly clean start for the Pro-Ams as well. Jürgen Knockout, Kurt Van Hoenack in the front row for the Ams. They are underway here. Connor Botting needs a good start in that Audi if he wants any chance of trying to get the championship. Outside line of Kurt Van Hoenacker. Is the Audi going to try and get the move done? A little bit wide from a BMW in the background as well, as they all emerge on the exit of turn 1 and on that run in towards turn number 2. Connor Botting up into 2nd place, pretty consolidated, and on the run in towards the cutting, Michael Patterman trying to work his way forward. Ashraf Al Haddad having a bit of a look to the outside, very long way around though, of course, and not getting the benefit of the banking on that inside through the cutting. Michael Patterman trying to make some progress forward. Same to John Williams, 2 places down. Oh my word, big crash for a Peugeot 7 round. I think, fortunately, somehow, everyone, no, they haven't. I was going to say, fortunately, people have found their way through that. No, they have not.
Let's see what on earth happened there. That was a wild accident. I think at least 6 cars involved in that, and Lucas Romano. Oh my good lord, that was the 49 involved in that. And there's more chaos and more carnage while we cut away to a replay.
More.
Oh.
How is there more? How physically is there more? Both of our championship rivals in Pro-Am as well involved in that initial incident. It might come down to who was worst off. Simon Dodd in the Eclipse Racing Team BMW. There you can see the 49 trying to find his way through. Ashraf Al Haddad is just like, yeah, cool, I'm just going to sneak my way through. But that was interesting. I don't know how to digest that one. In all honesty, there's the initial cause of it. Simon Dodd pirouetting back onto the circuit, doesn't really know where to go. Lucas Shimano is just like, what am I supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Because there's nowhere physically you can go. It is track, barrier, bam. You trying to avoid it, you are going to meet your good old friend Barry.
Yeah, and very, very hard as well. That's the problem with it, especially here at Bathurst, where the barriers are so close to the edge of the track here. You even look at the track wrong and you are in big trouble. However, just looking at that for the championship standings wise, that's so much to unpack from all of that, because that means that we have lost our 2 title contenders for Pro-Am, Lucas Romano and John Williams, out into the pits. So that, as it stands, completely neutralises the Pro-Am In fact, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because the one man still out there is Michael Patterman.
Interesting. How far off is he?
He's 38 points away from this, so he's still in contention. Michael Patterman, as it stands, would be winning this championship.
Actually? Seriously?
Yeah, well, think about it. So he's down there in P4 in Pro-Am right now, and if John Williams and Lucas Romano are out of the race, then that's going to be a big amount of points for him. Yeah, because obviously the extra points with it being extra race distance as well. I will have to double check what they get for 4th place, but
51, isn't it?
Yeah, so there you go. So as long as it's more than 38, then Patterman would leapfrog the pair of them.
Wow. So it is going to be a race against time as to if/when they can get back out of the pit lane. Because even if they can score some points, it's better than nothing. Michael Patterman, golden opportunity here. Here's side by side. Thomas Dandridge, Andy Miller, I should say, outside line for the final corner for the very strikingly blue Ferrari. right-hand side, left-hand side of shot, of course. They've got Harry Wills and Eres Humantas just in the background of shot. There's the Mercedes going for the dive. Outside line of turn 1 for Andy Miller. Hangs on to P5, trying to get the slipstream of Stuart Reynolds just in front of him. Chris Chatterton up there in P3 as well. Thomas Dandridge, though, still having a bit of a look to the left-hand side. That BMW got the legs down the straight. Andy Miller confident in his Ferrari straight line speed. Inside line for Quarry Bend, of course, as well. Thomas Dandridge, is he going to go the long way around at turn 2? Surely not. He's going to give it a go. Harry Wills nips his nose to the inside of the apex as well. Side by side between the Mercedes and the BMW in towards the cutting. Thomas Dandridge, in trying to go for 5th, has ended up 7th.
Hero zero. That's the only way that I can describe that as well. Watching also here with Dirk Bouts here in the lead of James Slates right now. So this is very important for the AM Championship as well. Dirk Bouts leading James Slates by, what's that, by 14 points right now. Lewis Boubier still in the fight here as well. So this is a 3-way scrap, 4-way scrap actually. Connor Botting still has a mathematical chance at this, and given what we've seen over that that couple of laps ago, Zach, it can all change, and it likely will all change here.
Yeah, it's been flipped on its head. It's a championship that, yeah, I wasn't expecting that turn of events. Good spot, of course, for Michael Patterman, because I definitely wouldn't have called that, but wow, fair enough. Fight for second, Chris Chatterton, Neil Butler. Neil Butler, of course, as it stands, winning the Pro Championship. He has got his rival, Stuart Reynolds, just in behind. Here comes Chris Chatterton to the right-hand side, in towards the kink as before you head in towards the chase. Nothing separates Neil Butler and Stuart Reynolds on track. There were a pretty hefty margin in terms of the championship standings. Of course, Stuart Reynolds is going to need quite a lot and a miracle if he's going to want to take home this Pro Championship. And Neil Butler knows that.
He certainly does. Do you know, another thing that I've just realised here, Zach, is somebody that you were speaking to during the break there that wasn't caught up in that. Can we get a moment of applause for Harry Wills not actually getting caught up in 15 other cars going out the race? Because you would have put your money on, if anyone was going to get caught up in that, it would have been Harry Wills.
Touch wood. We'll see.
He's got plenty chance to do it himself, but I'm just saying, hooray, he's not done it. Or
you can't blame anyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no excuses, Harry Wills, mate. Yeah, we're all eyes on you now. I think for next season, we just need a Harry cam, just to make sure we can watch what Harry's doing. But yeah, anyway, we cut to this fight for P3. P4 as it's actually at the moment. P3 as well. I think Dirk Bouts is only just right there as well. So 3 BMWs, 3 Belgians as well for the fight for 3rd in the AMS. Lewis Boubier, bit caught up in the fight amongst some of the AMS. We're going to see as to what's happened to him. Bit too late on the brakes maybe for the chase. Yeah, that's exactly the case. The BMW works his way through, so too does the 78 BMW. I think that might be Liam Ahern working his way through. Again, not entirely sure. Might be Mark Bailey, actually, just in front of him there. So Lewis Boubier losing a bit of time. And for a man who, in race 1s, is so quick and has been so quick over the course of this race, his race 2s as well have gotten significantly better over the course of the championship. For him to end the season like this is not going to be the way he wanted to go out.
Yeah, he's going to be a little bit frustrated, I think, to put it mildly. It's always annoying when you give everything to a season and it just doesn't, it's like I was saying earlier, it just doesn't work out the way you thought it was. It's just one of those things. It's sim racing for you at its very finest. It's real racing at its very finest. You know, it giveth and it taketh away in the blink of an eye. At the end of the day, though, he has done a remarkable job this season. It's been a really, really impressive effort. I think he's actually been very, very consistent this season. He's maybe not had the best run of luck, but he's certainly had the pace. And it's things like that that leave you looking back at the season going, well, yeah, okay, I didn't get the results I want, but really I'm fairly happy with how I performed.
Yeah, I think there's always something to take out of a race, always something to take out of a championship, even if it's not the result that you potentially would have wanted, even if it's not the championship win, there's always something to take. You look back on your mistakes, you think what you could have done better. James Slates, though, is not going to be looking in regret if he wants to make this move for P3. Backing out of it, though, as he had a bit of a look to right-hand side into the kink, and unfortunately not anything materialising as it stands. Dirk Bouts on his bid for 3rd place in this race and to win the AM Championship, which, as it stands, I think he is going to do. talking in the YouTube chat as well. Harry Cam only needed for 10 laps of a 20 race series, and odds on for Harry being on the roof by the end of this. 2-1, says Ryan Hamilton. I think even that is optimistic. Stuart Reynolds, the wrong Twisted Racing Team Mercedes, but won indeed. He's second place in the Pro Championship. How has he bottled this?
Oh, he has bottled it.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a very strange place to... I've never seen that.
You
under-
understeer, you don't oversteer.
Yeah, bizarre. Oh well, that's one for the books, and that car is going to go flying down the order.
Oh yeah, P9 at the moment as it stands, not where he wants to be. It does Stuart Reynolds, and from the mid part of this season, unfortunately, I think at one point 3 races in a row were his drop round. He had a drop round, somehow made it worse in the next race, somehow made it even worse for the next round. And that, unfortunately, did spell an end, really, to his championship campaign. For him, still ahead of Albin Kjellberg, who's not even turned up today, and still ahead of Chris Chatterton. So not the worst, still second place in a championship, which, again, you will take. Neil Butler is looking perfectly poised, I think, to take that one. Michael Patterman, provisionally, the Pro-Am Championship. I don't think anyone would have expected this. I don't think anyone, also, David, would have expected Stuart Viners, Juho Huutonen, in that fight for the lead.
Well, I think Chat are wanting Juho Huutonen in the fight for the lead because they were
heard the
demanding that we hear from him. As looks like Patman gets that position taken away from him from Akrab El Haddad there. But yeah, what a cracking little fight we've got going on here for the lead of the Pro-Am battle. And my God, if anyone deserves some good luck in this season, it's Juho Huutonen. It's just been horrendous to watch because he's done absolutely nothing right this season in terms of luck. But now this is interesting. James Slate's actually getting ahead of Dirk Bouts here, and remember they two are fighting it out for the championship. So what's the difference between first and second? Is only 3 points. So we need Slates needs something to happen to Bouts.
Yeah. What is the gap at the moment? I think it's 14. Yeah, it's 14 points. So he's going to need 11 more points. He's going to need 4 more places Dirk Bouts to fall back to. If I was James States, I'd be parking the bus. I'd be saying, come on, boys, all aboard the James States train, and making everyone, Gus Franken, Jürgen Knockout, Kurt Van Hohenacker, make a move. Fight for the race lead amongst the pros. Kieran Smart versus Chris Chatterton side by side off of the hairpin that leads you on to the Conrod Straight, and Chris Chatterton able to get the nose ahead and into the race lead. At least for now, you have to say this battle is far from over. In towards the chase, is Kieran Smart going to go for the send? Not quite close enough in that BMW. Chris Chatterton hangs on for now. 4-way fight for the lead in the pros starting to materialise. We've got a 2-way fight for the lead in the Pro-Ams and a good fight for the podium in the Ams as well. We said we wanted fireworks in this final race. I don't think we're too far off that.
I think that's exactly what we have been given to us just now. It's fantastic stuff just now. We're also seeing that fight between Vinus and Huutonen starting to get a little bit closer as well. Maybe not as close as the battle at the front of the pros just now. Looks like it has settled itself down now, but I mean, this is another example. We said it halfway through the first race there, is the fact that we just don't know where to look in this sometimes. There's just so much action, so much drama going on. It makes our lives very, very difficult up here in the commentary box.
Oh yeah, we have such a hard time, David. God forbid we have to sit on our bums talking about pretend race cars going around a circuit and get paid to do it. I can't complain at all. But yeah, no, it gives us a headache. It gives us a headache in the commentary booth in terms of the maths. And that is probably the full extent of our job requirements as a commentator, is to chat waffle and to do a little bit of maths. But it's complicated maths for a 5-year-old. In terms of calculating the fights for the championship. It's up and down, it's ebb and flow all the time, And with different points, the standings and different points scoring systems across leagues, it can be quite hard to keep up with. So do cut us some slack, particularly David. He is Scottish, bless him, and they do lack a couple of IQ points up in the brain cells. I'll digress. I'll stop taking the cat at David, because I do think he's a fantastic commentator. A mathematician, not so much, but again, I can't boast the same thing either. I'll stop waffling now, because I think I'm just digging this hole deeper and deeper.
Well, the great thing for me is, of course, that I've got the mute button for Zach Sweeney, so we'll not be hearing from him for the next couple of minutes during this race. Now we better bring him back in. Thomas Dandridge under pressure right now, though, from it looks like Arius Mantis coming down through the final couple of corners there. And Zach, again, just going back to that pro fight just now, it looks like Chris Chatterton has a little bit of room there at the front. But this battle with Stuart Wyness and Juho Huhtinen is just getting spicier and spicier.
Yeah, it really is. Stuart Wyness under a bit of pressure from the Finn, who's trying to go to the outside of the chase, getting told off for saying some mean things about the Scots. I half apologise. I'm kind of sorry. But yeah, there's no wonder you guys want independence from the UK. Anyway, fighting on in this race is Juho Huhtinen, Stuart Wyness, of course, this fight. Juho Huhtinen yet to take a podium this season. So close in Mosport a few weeks ago actually. He was so daringly close, but it wasn't quite enough. And now is his prime opportunity to try and take the victory here. And what a time to do it. What a time to get redemption. Lewis Boubier through the second corner of Quarry, just looping around on his own. He is having an absolute nightmare.
So I think it's safe to say that is the goodbye to any championship hopes that Lewis Boubier had. I mean, and this is right now. This is live pictures of Lewis Boubier facing the wrong way coming up the hill here. That is not what you want to see, especially since he's going to lap down and those are leading cars that are going past him right now. That is a very, very scary sight indeed. That car is absolutely... I believe the technical word is banjaxed.
It's a very technical term. There are a lot of words that we can't say on broadcast to describe that car. I would say completely totaled, is not going to pass an MOT, and is not winning the AM Championship is Lewis Boubier in that number 9 Audi. It's not the best situation. There's Mantas having a good old whiff at the rear end of Thomas Dandridge into the chase. Not quite close enough on this particular occasion. These two, though, are closing in on that fight for the lead in the pros. This is the one for the Pro-Ams. That Mercedes hasn't got the legs down the Conrog straight in towards the chase chicane to try and find the way through on Stuart Wyness. He's been holding on for such a long time, but we still have 34 minutes left in this race. Juho Huhtinen trying to find the gap to the left-hand side, late on the brakes. Is he going to go for it? Is the Finn? Got the gap? Not quite. Stuart Wyness hangs on to the race lead, at least for now. But you can tell how much it means to both of these drivers to try and get the win. Here's also a good fight between the two Porsches, Michael Patterman versus Ashraf El Haddad.
Yeah, Michael Patterman's got ahead again of Ashraf El Haddad there. We didn't quite see that happen just a couple of laps ago because that move was done by El Haddad on Patterman. And again, this is absolutely crucial for the championship standings right now. Same with James Slates ahead of Dirk Bouts. Again, like you were saying there, I'm not sure why Slates isn't holding up, isn't parking that bus and trying to slow that car down behind him and get all the rest of the cars back up with it. But as it stands, it's good, but it's just not enough for James Slates to take this. However, with the fact that Dirk Bouts has fallen back about 4.6 seconds, he is coming into the clutches of Gus Franken. So we'll wait and see, but I'm not going to hold my breath just yet.
Neither am I. Getting well in the YouTube chat asking if John Williams and Lucas Romano are still in the pit lane. The answer to your question is Lucas Romano is out of the pit lane, driving around a whole 8 laps down, spent 16 minutes in the pit lane, but running around in 28th place overall. John Williams is still in the pit lane after trying to seek his 8th win of the season. Not quite going to be the case. Andy Miller having a look past championship leader of Neil Butler. Harry Wills up there still going for the move for 4th. Left-hand side for the Twisted Racing Team Mercedes. Side by side as they run through. Andy Miller the long way around leaves Harry Wills out to dry. He knows that Harry Wills won't want any more contact in this season, and he knows that he can get a little bit more argy-bargy, a little bit more elbows out to hang on to that 4th place. But again, Andy Miller trying to turn offense into defense, and Harry Wills was straight there. He didn't hesitate at all. He was like, cool, I'm closing, left-hand side, late on the brakes, let's go for it. He didn't hesitate for a man in his position.
The thing is, though, you cannot hesitate whatsoever. I think in this point of the season, I'm just getting a bit distracted here because I've just seen that Connor Botting has had a bit of a moment as well in the other Audi. That was the second of the two outside mathematical chances for AM. That now means that it's a straight two-way fight between Dirk Boutts, and James Slates for the lead of that AM championship here.
Been pushing this narrative for a long time. It's not even that funny. Connor Botting is turning into Connor Bottling the championship, and that has been the case for the entirety of the second half of this season. How?
What?
That was sketchy.
That Dirk Boutts?
James Slates, wasn't it?
We'll have a look. Yeah. Sorry, you're absolutely right.
James Slates.
Yeah.
Ooh.
How? What?
Just parks it. What? Unless he turned in too late and was going to understand he had to brake as to not go onto the gravel trap.
We need to. We need to pick.
We need to have a little bit of a look.
Yeah.
Let's have a look on board, maybe. Let's see. Maybe from James Slate's angle. Slow motion, of course, getting all the angles. Are we going to see James Slates? You can see is going
the car's out of control.
So he's not doing anything malicious. He's just trying to hang on. And for James Slates, there's not much he can do. He can't react to that. It was just a case of he was quite close to the rear end. He, of course, takes the lead of the AMs then, side by side between Callum Beeman and Stuart Reynolds for the wooden spoon in the pros. P8 and P9 respectively for these two. Both of them have boasted pretty good success in this season so far. The 96 goes to the left-hand side of the final corner, and the Porsche are going to go the long way around. Outside line, of course, keeps his nose ahead for now. 1.2 seconds back on that fight for P7. That's Thomas Dowdridge just in front of him. Only 3 seconds in front of him is that fight for first. Stuart Reynolds inside line for turn 1. Callum Beeman still keeping him honest, still emerging side by side, of course. But for Stuart Reynolds, considering everything that he's been through this race, he's not that far off that race lead.
He's really not. And the thing is that it's moments like this where it really all come to fruition. You know, it's that patience, something that I definitely don't have any of whatsoever. But if you're able to just sort of keep your nose clean, keep your head down, then you're rewarded by, you know, being in that opportunity. And, you know, we've got, 29 minutes left to go, plus pit stops. We've seen races completely turn on their head even more than this. So, yeah, I think anything could still happen from this point onwards.
I completely agree. I think it's Bathurst. Hashtag just Bathurst things, as the Phoenix Wild most eloquently puts it. It's just Bathurst. It's the way that this circuit will chew you up and spit you out if you give it that chance. And for a lot of people, they have given it that chance. It's a circuit where a race was red flagged because there's been kangaroos on the circuit. It's a circuit where races have been red flagged because trees have fallen onto the circuit. That speaks volumes as to how chaotic this track can be. Speaking of battles, though, of course, on this track, how there can be a lot of carnage, chaos, and excitement. The Finn of Juho Huhtinen into the race lead on merit for race number 2 of round 10 of this season 4. He definitely got the pace measure over Stuart Viner, still got the pit stops left to filter themselves out, etc, etc. Still a long way left to go in this race, but he is absolutely gunning for that race win. And if we get him in the commentary booth after this race, if when he does get that win, the chat are going to go wild.
They really are, and rightfully so. I mean, it's just been so much fun to watch this all unfold. The thing is that those BMWs, it's strange, isn't it? Because they had the upper hand in the first race, but in the second race, maybe with more fuel on board or whatever, they've just not seemed to be able to make things happen right now. It could all change as we get into the later stages of the race. That fuel load starts to burn down, but you've got to ask yourself, is that maybe too little too late?
Yeah, wow. Monty, would be good to see a non-incident highlight reel for Juho. It'd be about 30 seconds long. It'd be the end of this race. Touch wood. Oh, yeah. Let's not speak too soon. But anyway, back to the racing action. We've digressed quite a lot. There's been a lot to talk about, a lot of funny moments over the course of this season, and a lot of funny moments in this race as well. The fight for the lead in the pros has dissipated because Chris Chatterton completely flying out in front. Kieran Smart, Andy Miller, Neil Butler, Harry Wills, 4-car fight for second place on the podium is really boiling up for sure as we approach halfway through this race. Once more into the Forest Elbow, Neil Butler negotiates his way through. That Porsche is struggling in this train, though, due to that deficit in straight line speed. This fight will for sure be settled in the pit stops.
Yeah, it absolutely will. As we cut to a replay of Callum Beament here. Wow. Wow, that is a heavy hit at the top skyline, straight into the wall, and yeah, that's just not happening. Great to see you picking up on chat on something that we noticed there. Lucas Romano and John Williams both back out on track, several laps down now. Romano's on lap 4, Williams on lap 3, but realistically, I can't see that doing anything really for them in terms of the championship. We'll see, but yeah, I can't see it making any difference.
Well, they will score points. They'll score full points, right, based on their track position as it stands. If I'm correct, they will, because they're still completing a technically full race distance. They're still completing the threshold. So as it stands, I think it was Romano 6th, Williams 7th. So it would still go the way of Romano if that is the way things are going to stand. There is Andy Miller, though, up in a second. We'll come back to that in just a second. Neil Butler under a bit of pressure from Harry Wills, though Andy Miller, the man on form, it must be said, trying to push for 2 in 2 here at round 10. He's definitely likely to do that if he can keep the pace up and get after Chris Chatterton. Kieran Smart put up a valiant defence, though it wasn't quite good enough in that BMW. Now he's got to try and keep Neil Butler and Harry Wills behind in that fight for the podium. Neil Butler, though, looking both forwards and backwards, having to keep the very fast, very aggressive Mercedes of Harry Wills at bay.
He certainly is, and Wills is not a man you want to have behind you at this point. Very, very intimidating, I think, is the politest word I'm going to use for that moment there. While you were saying that as well, I was actually having a quick look through the rules there. So yep, you're absolutely spot on. To confirm, classified result, it's 50% race distance. If the overall, you've got to have done 50% of what the race leader has done. So if the overall leader has done 10 laps, you've got to have done 5 laps to score points. So as it stands, we'll see how that goes, because say the leader has done say 30 laps or 25 laps or whatever, we've got to make sure that these drivers get up to 15 laps or so. The other thing is with that is that they've got to pray that there's no more incidents that catch them out, that involve them.
You always say, keep on going. No matter what is thrown at you, keep on going. And that's what Lucas Romano and John Williams have had to do. Their mandatory repairs probably taken 60 minutes, whatever Romano had to do in the pit lane. His optional repairs, probably upwards of an hour, I would say. The ones you want to take are the optional ones, because they're the ones that are going to be the difference between you with your hands crisscrossed down the straight and you actually being able to tolerate driving. Lucas Romano and John Williams are going to have to snail pace around the circuit, though I say that, both of them with fairly competitive lap times, to be completely honest. Not doing too bad at all out there on track as it stands. And as long as they do complete 50% race distance, they will take home their respective championship positions. Michael Patterman, of course, being very clean, very consistent up there in P4. But yeah, as long as they get the points, they will do enough to hang on. And again, in their situations, you just have to keep going and hope that you get the points that you will, and that's exactly what they're doing. And full respect to them, because it's so easy to just in the heat of the moment to just alt F4, quit iRacing, whatever. And I think maybe a lot of drivers would have done that. But Lucas Romano, John Williams, both determined to get back out on track just to get those points. And yeah, very important. You can see that BMW has seen better days, but it's out on track and it's scoring the points that Romano needs to win this championship.
It absolutely is, and just updating the proper laps that they're on just now, so you can see there that Romano 7 laps down and Williams 8 laps down as well. That's not actually going to matter when they come towards the end of it, because we're going to have done at least 10 to 15 laps more than where we are right now. And just noticing as well, Harry Wills actually getting past Kieran Smart there, and that looks like it was a very, very straightforward move to get that done. So he's not only done P4, but he's also got P3 as well. So let's have a look here.
Yeah, of course, this is why you were talking regarding the legality of point scoring. Harry Wills was to the inside of Neil Butler on that run into the chase and up into P4. Then he was able to make it P3 versus Kieran Smart in the exact same way. Carbon copy for the Mercedes, and was able to get himself up onto the podium place and in pursuit now of Andy Miller, who update about him in regards to his chase relative to Chris Chatterton. The gap is under 3 seconds. The last lap, 202.56 for Chatterton, 202.11 for Andy Miller, 202.25 for Harry Wills. Very close in terms of pace of Miller and Wills. However, a 4/10th discrepancy between the BMW of Chatterton and the Ferrari of Miller. That gap is going to be spicy. Could Miller go for 2 and 2?
He could do. There's a very, very good chance of it as well. I mean, how often have we seen this throughout the season so far, Zach? The fact that, you know, Miller just seems to be in the right place at the right time. And I know it's such a cliche thing to say, but especially, oh my good lord, that was Kieran Smart heavily chapping the wall there on the right-hand side. But yeah, going back to Andy Miller, you know, he took the race win, and he's put himself in the best possible position right now to do that as well. And that's no mean feat, because obviously with these reverse grids, you have to absolutely be on one to be able to pile through the grids and get yourself back on the podium, never mind in contention for the race lead here. So we've seen it before. I wish that this season had been different for Andy. Maybe the points would have looked a little bit different for him, but I think he's doing himself incredibly proud tonight, and this could be enough to get him up, maybe even into that top 5 of the championship.
Yeah, as it stands, I mean, he's going to overtake Albin Kjellberg. He well and truly could Andy Miller. And yeah, he's boasted some fair amount of success. I think he did do quite well in the opening stages of the race. Having a quick look at the results, was able to take a string of podiums, did Andy Miller. He's doing really, really well, particularly to the back end of this year. His first win did come today, though. And he's going to want to try and make that an extra one for a perfect end to a pretty average season for the Ferrari. He's had lots of highs and lots of lows as well, I think, as everyone has. James Slate's updates in the AMS, the RP Motorsport BMW, 10.8 seconds clear of Dirk Bout. Of course, the gap on track does not correlate to a difference in points. Dirk Bout's only 1 place behind, has only been losing 3 of the 14 points that James Slates needs to win this AM championship, while both of them seemed quite far out of contention relative to the Prime Motorsport boys. Both of them are now going to be finishing 1 and 2 in the AM standings, taking away a pretty hefty amount of IMB Racewear gear.
It's not a bad haul, is it? The fact that you can leave a season not only with a big smile on your face, knowing that you've performed very well, but you also get some of that incredible IMB Racewear gear. And yeah, it's a fantastic partnership that they've done here with World Series Leagues and IMB Racewear. It just to, you know, be able to give something back to the community. I mean, IMB are incredibly active in the sim racing community, and yeah, it's just a fantastic reward for these drivers who come in and give us such awesome entertainment week in, week out, especially for us up here in the commentary box. I mean, we'd have literally nothing to commentate on if it wasn't for the action, which is in turn led by all of the partnerships that Harry and the team have been working on. Just noticing some of the pit stops starting to happen, and this is one thing that we've not really spoken about at length, Zach, is the fact that strategy, I don't think it's going to play as much of a part as it maybe has in other races this season.
I think at Bathurst, it could play the biggest factor, in the sense that if you're stuck behind a car, pit early, pit a lap later, get that lap under your belt and try and work your way through. Andy Miller, I don't think he's actually going to need it relative to Chris Chatterton. That gap is coming down fairly sizably quickly. 1.6 seconds now is the gap, pulling away from Harry Wills, and Andy Miller is on a charge. But yeah, in terms of the race itself, yeah, it's not going to affect too much, because there's been quite a wide gap, particularly in the AMS as well. So yeah, not going to be much change, I'm sure, throughout the pit stops. But again, we've been surprised before, and I'm sure we'll be surprised again. We were talking a little bit about the IMB Racewear gear. We'll go through the exacts. So the top 3 in the championship for each of the 3 categories get the following: the winner, a nice pair of gloves, a t-shirt, and some racing boots along the way. P2 get the gloves and the boots, and then P3 gets the gloves and some fairly snazzy sim racing socks as well. So those are the exacts there. And those are the prizes that the top 3 are going to be getting dished out at the end of this season. 16 minutes left to go of season number 4 then. And as we say, the pit stops are well and truly underway. Going again quite long into this race too, before we've seen the vast majority of pit stops. Usually, over the course of this season, particularly in the first half, we saw them 25 minutes, 30 minutes at max. Towards the sort of rounds 8, 9, 10, we've had them, well into the 30 minutes.
And that's going to be a crucial factor for these final 15 minutes of the race here, is just how long they can bleed these tanks dry. Are they going to be fuel managing? Are they going to be monitoring their pace in terms of just trying to keep things out there on the straight and narrow? Apart from strategy, I'm going back to an earlier conversation that we had. We were talking about James Slates and Dirk Bouts here. Now, you mentioned something. I'm pretty sure, didn't you say that Dirk Bouts, for James Slates to win, Dirk Bouts had to be lower than 4th position?
Well, it's 60 points for a win, 57, 54, 51, etc., for race 2. So a difference of 3 points per position. At the moment, P1 and P2, Slates is going to gain 3 points, which brings it down to 11. So Bouts needs a further 4 places, so P6 to lose the championship, right, to Slates.
Okay, so I can't see that one happening, but there's a distinct possibility he might be outside the top 3 just now, because he's got Gus Franken and Mark Bailey right behind him, and the pace that's been dropping off from Dirk Bouts has been over a second a lap compared to Michael Patterson. Bouts has been doing 2:05s, and Patterman's been doing 2:03s as well, so quite a few pit stops coming in here, but a very, very interesting race to watch here. But for me, this is the story of the day. Juho Huhtinen getting the race lead here for Pro-Ams right now, and a lot of support in the YouTube chat.
As much as we try and be impartial in the commentary booth, and we try and hide it, of course, naturally, we're going to have favourites and what have you. There's no hiding the fact that we all want Juho Huhtinen to win. No offence to Stuart Varnes, it'll be great to see him win also, and it's a great story for the pair of them. But the season this man has had, okay, if you go back and watch every race, we've had to look at a replay of this blue and white Mercedes having an off somewhere. The first one that comes to mind is the Red Bull Ring. He had a spin at turn 9. He's been very unlucky, whether that be his own making or other people's making. Juho Huhtinen could have boasted a better season, and there is no better way to end off this season than to see Juho Huhtinen on the top step of a race 2. We'll come back to that in just a sec. Thomas Dandridge and Aris Jumantas fighting over P6 as it stands in the pros. The Mercedes not quite close enough to go for the move into the chase, at least for now. Chris Chatterton into the pit lane. A very tricky pit lane entry, it must be said, here at Bathurst. It's not something that's talked about quite a lot. Very unanimous amongst the pros to come in. Neil Butler, the only of those to stay out. Yeah, it's a tricky way in here at Bathurst. Even something as so trivial as going into the pit lane, when the pressure is this high, can be very difficult.
It really can. How often have we seen those meme compilation videos, the iRace and Fail compilations, and there's always one poor soul that stacks it into the tyre wall right at the end there. So yeah, it's a very, very difficult pit lane, and very, very easy to get wrong.
Oh yeah, and if you do get it wrong, even marginally wrong, you are going straight into the barrier. There's no question about it. Neil Butler going very long in this race. The benefit of this, of course, is that he's not going to have to take as much fuel to get to the end of this race. He's going to take a lap less of fuel. How much? Of course, it's a long lap here at Bathurst as well, so it's going to be more in terms of actual litres of fuel. He's going to gain some time relative to those around him. That's going to be very crucial in a fight for second as close as about a second or two.
It is going to be very, very close indeed. Almost as close as this little fight here, because I think Stuart Winus has just retaken the lead here from Juho Huhtinen. So cracking little pit stop change there. The thing with it is that this is all playing into Neil Butler's hands, because for every lap he can stay out there, his last lap was a 2:03.1, which was his personal best. So I've got no doubt that he is very likely running on absolute fumes right now. But he'll definitely be coming in. So worst case scenario, he's able to kind of make a couple of places up here. But you know, at what cost? That's the thing with this, because he'll come across the line just now, and all it takes is to be slightly longer in the pits to undo all that damage. But look, sometimes you just have to roll the dice, and that's exactly what Neil Butler has done here. Manages to somehow safely negotiate that pit lane entry and get in, and I believe that's one of our final pit stops. Mark Bailey as well actually is still out there. He's not pitted now in the lead of the AM champion, or in the lead of the AM battle right now as well. So that, I believe, is the last two cars we are waiting on to pit now.
Yep. In the Pro-Am, Stuart Viner is able to get ahead of Juho Huhtinen by a length of about 1 second. Chris Chatterton retakes the lead of the Pros, so too Andy Miller into second. Race against time. Neil Butler exiting the pits, loses the place to Harry Wills and Kieran Smart. Outside the top 5, Neil Butler rolled the dice, and unfortunately it's not going to be going his way on this particular occasion. He's secure enough, I think, in the championship to be able to take those risks and try something different, which is fair enough. It's nice to know that going into the final race of the season, you feel secure enough to go for those moves. John Williams, this man has a fairly awkward race. And getting word in the YouTube chat, was it a scheduled stop for John Williams that last time around? Yes, it was. He's back out on track, doing the best he can to score those points and to consolidate second place in the championship. While it did look like it was going to go the way of this man, of Michael Patterman, Lucas Romano, John Williams, both able to get back safely out on track to remain in those places, to score the points that they need and to hit the 50% race distance mark. A fight for fourth, though, as Ashraf El Haddad closes the gap and tries to mount an attack for fourth. Also got to keep an eye on that fight. Stuart Vines, Juho Huhtinen, the Finn versus Vines. And well, who is going to come out on top on this particular occasion? Less than 10 minutes left to go of round 10. And it's going to be sad to see this season go, but final 9 minutes, there's still a lot to play for.
Yeah, there really is, and it's a chance for all of the drivers now to just unwind and really enjoy the races now, because a lot of the hard work is done. For a lot of the drivers, they still have to kind of keep the head down and the knuckles blue, as it were, but for most of the drivers, it's now just a case of starting to think, right, okay, well, we've done it, we've got through to the end of the season here, and I can imagine, regardless of where they finish, Zach, they're going to be very, very happy. It's been a really, really interesting season in many different ways. We had quite a few chaotic incidents, certainly a lot less than what we had in the US variation, that's for sure, but either way, I mean, you can't say that this championship hasn't had passion, hasn't had determination, and hasn't had a fight.
No, you cannot. It's season 4 has been one to remember, and it's been one I've thoroughly enjoyed commentating on. It's been myself, you and O'Leary in the commentary booth for a lot of these races. Same to myself and David Christie for the majority of the season as well. And well, David Christie's been here for every round near on, and it's been us three in the little triangle, whether it be David Christie on the prods and in the commentary booth, or just in the producers section. But that's nonetheless, for all three of us, it's been thoroughly enjoyable. It's been an experience. It's been a roller coaster. We've shared so many memories over the last sort of 10 weeks, and of course for all three of us as well, it's our second season in a row. We've shared the last near on 5-6 months of this championship, and every week they've delivered. Over the course of the 2 races, they have delivered some fantastic racing action, and that is no different for the final 7 minutes now of this race. Time does really fly. Ashraf El Haddad, Michael Patterman, the fight for fourth down this back straight in towards turn number 2, and the Porsche, the 92, the Dutchman of Ashraf El Haddad, trying to close the gap. Not quite close enough, I would not suspect, in this run towards turn 2 of Quarry Bend, though still enough to maybe put off Michael Patterman into turn 2. Bring it back to the racing line, though, does the Porsche. and running their way in towards the cutting. Under a lot of pressure now, though, is Michael Patterman. Not quite the pressure of a championship. Stuart Reynolds making a move on the inside of Kieran Smart on the run in towards the chase. The BMW trying to keep his nose ahead going in, but thinks better of it, backs out. And plenty of battles. I mean, we've waited so long for one, and sometimes when you wait so long for one bus, two come at once.
Or 3 or 4, because this is the battle that we're keeping an eye on here. Stuart Winus and Juho Huhtinen for the Pro-Am battle, and you were mentioned there that obviously we are completely impartial in the commentary box, and for the, you know, we absolutely are. We don't have any preference over who we want to win, but certainly for the storyline wise and for the characters that we have through this entire season, you've got little bits of the storyline that you'd like to see play out. You just think that it'd be a very, very fitting thing to happen. Either way, Juho Huhtinen getting a podium on this last race of the season, I think would be a very just reward for the determination, because Juho, despite all of the lumps and bumps and hits that car has taken, every single round without fail is out there on track. And I think that is one of the things that I absolutely adore about this WSL Championship, this IMB GT3 Championship, is the fact that there's just constant determination, this constant hunger from all these drivers here, Zach, to not only show up but to really push themselves and to better themselves every single week.
They do it because they enjoy it, they do it because they want to get better, and they do it because it's a fantastic atmosphere to be a part of, and that for one, it is for sure. You're always in the Discord having banter with all the drivers. They're all taking the mickey out of each other, they're all joking and laughing and asking for tips, making sure everyone's enjoying themselves, and it's not something you can often boast as a series. So Harry Wills, Stuart Reynolds, Dean Timms, everyone in the admin booth has been on top form for the last 4 seasons of this championship to make it happen, because it is not easy at all. The logistics behind running a championship, I have not been able to say from experience, but I know full well just what a mammoth task it can be. Replay though, Kieran Smart going into Skyline as you dip your way through the S's down the mountain. What's happened to him as the car just looped round? Oh, that's an Audi. That's one of, I think that might be Joran Reigns in the 37. Has tagged Kieran Smart there and cost him a bit of time in that fight. Up in front, still struggling. The fight for 2 races. Chris Chatterton, Andy Miller, Stuart Viners, Juho Huhtinen, both of which under a second. 4 minutes left to go, season 4.
Well, this is starting to boil over very, very nicely indeed. It was actually spot on there on that ID. It was Jeroen Reigns that had contact with the car of Kieran Smart there. This is getting very intriguing though. I'm wondering if there's maybe a little bit of fuel saving right now from Chris Chatterton. That last lap there was a 2:02.59. Last lap for Andy Miller, 2:01.87. Miller absolutely wants this second win. There's no doubt about it. He's in the position. He smells the blood in the water, and he is absolutely pushing for it right now. There's no other reason that that BMW just not seeming to have the same pace that the Ferrari has got right now. The 2 things to watch though: the Ferrari, Miller might be pushing that car a little bit too hard right now. You're starting to see some wiggles here as he's really aggressive over the curbs here. But once they come down to that Conrod straight, that car is going to be very vulnerable of Chris Chatterton.
Oh yeah, the BMW, the Ferrari should be fairly equal in terms of straight line speed, though Andy Miller, as we said earlier, very confident in the straight line speed of his Ferrari 488 GT3, and is going to want to try and work his way past the Eclipse Racing Team BMW. Going back to my point earlier, you wait so long for one bus, 2 come at once, and that might be the case in terms of race wins for Andy Miller. It's going to be very close. 1 or 2 laps left. It should, in theory, I think, be 2 more at the line. Again, it is going to be very, very close if they're running 2-minute lap times. They've got 30 seconds to get to the line, and it should go the way of 2 more laps. Chris Chatterton, Andy Miller for 2 more goes around the Mount Panorama circuit. Flashing the lights, of course, to the back markers. The pressure is on. 47-45, I'm going to call it as they cross the line. 2 to go, the penultimate lap of the race. It all comes down to this. Andy Miller, bit of a look to the left-hand side, playing the psychological warfare. Can he find a way through to make it 2-2 for the Andy Miller space program.
Well, that's what we're away to see. Hopefully, the Andy Miller space program has been shelved for the entirety of the next 2.5 minutes. Launch has been well and truly cancelled for Andy Miller right now. Look at how close that car is right now. I think the battle between Juho Huhtinen and Stuart Weines, I think from the looks of it, unless the timing tower is playing up, no, that is correct there. So it does look like that race is done and dusted. And that was a look up the inside from Miller.
That was indeed into the cutting. Not quite the place you want to send a move. Still very much in contention. It seems the fight for the Pro-Am lead is going to go the way of Stuart Weines. Juho Huhtinen so close yet so far to that inaugural race win. Still his first podium. And still second place in the season finale if he can bring it home. 2 to go, and they are closing up onto the back of some very, very fast lap traffic, dipping through probably the worst place on the circuit. Gonna hold up Chris Chatterton, of course. Andy Miller tucked up right in behind. The funding from the Andy Miller Space program has gone away from vertical rocket ships and instead the engine of that Ferrari 488 into the forest elbow, trying to get the best exit possible. Lapping the traffic does Chris Chatterton. Still in the slipstream though is Andy Miller. Way too far back to launch an attack on this particular occasion though, and they've probably caught this traffic at the best possible time. Chris Chatterton ducking and diving his way through. Andy Miller is going to have to wait one more time, but they've only got one more time around of this track.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic effort. I not lost as much time as I thought was potentially going to lose there, and Dirk Bout's getting ahead of Gus Franken there, so pretty much one hand on the championship right now for them. But what a race we've had here. Here we go then, with just one lap to go here, Zach. I cannot believe what an epic final race we've had this season, and I get the feeling that it's definitely not over yet.
We talk about the fights for the lead. We talk about the fights for the championship. One lap to go for Chris Chatterton, Andy Miller in this titanic fight for the lead. Neil Butler is surely going to come home to take 6th place in this race and the championship win as well for the pros. Andy Miller trying everything he can. Where can he get this move done?
Skyline. Anywhere after Skyline, I think, is going to be the opportunity. For what you want to do right now is just get that car as close as you possibly can. Remember, the Ferrari was compromised coming through the third and fourth corner that last time round. Certainly not got that problem just now. Get yourself as close as you can to Skyline. Intimidate that car as much as possible. And here we go. This is on.
It is well and truly on. Both of these guys are going to want this dearly. They're going to be fighting for... Oh no! Andy Miller into the barrier, on the run in towards Skyline. Chris Chatterton is going to take the win here for the pros. What an anticlimactic end to this race. That Ferrari is stricken. It has seen better days, and he's going to tumble not only off the fight for the win, but it's done. It's dusted. It's off the podium. It's out of contention for Andy Miller. It's half a lap left to go for this man, Chris Chatterton. Oh... pushing way too hard was Andy Miller.
Absolutely incredible stuff there. I just cannot believe that. And Harry Wills now has been passed by Stuart Reynolds as well.
He has side by side for the two Twisted Racing Team Mercedes on this run. Harry Wills trying to hang on to second. We'll have to keep our eyes on this man though. Chris Chatterton for another sensational victory in that BMW. He has put on a fantastic display, consistent overall versus Andy Miller. It went the way of the Ferrari in race 1. It's going the way of the BMW to round off season 4. Chris Chatterton takes the checkered flag for the pros. Who's going to be though between the two Mercedes? Harry Wills through the final corner, second place, his first podium of the season at no better time. A podium for Stuart Reynolds in the final race, but the championship can only be won by one. It's this man, the 41 Porsche, Neil Butler, your pro champion of the IMB World Series GT3 European League. What a race by him. Stuart Weines, Juho Huhtinen, both of them shared a fantastic fight over the course of these 50 minutes, but it is going to go the way of Stuart Weines, provided he keeps it clean for the final run through the chase. One more corner left for him in that BMW, and it's going to mean a hell of a lot to the UK&I driver. One more corner. He's got to keep it clean on the exit, though. Does not want to loop it around this late on. 52 minutes 40 seconds, and the Pro-Am win goes the way of Stuart Viners. Juha Huutonen, for him, win second place. I don't think he cares. Bittersweet day for him, of course. Could have been the win, but it is only second place. This is Arjibaji, Michael Patterman, Ashraf El Haddad come to blows on the final lap in that fight for fourth place. And well, that is one that hopefully won't be reported, and one that won't cause a bit of beef later on in the Discord. That's a weird way to end the championship, of course, and we wait for the AMs to round into the final corner as well. James Slates, Mark Bailey, Dirk Bouts. Dirk Bouts, of course, has already taken to the checkered flag. James Slates, it was good, not quite good enough in his bid for the AM title. It does go the way of Dirk Bouts in the AM Championship. Both of them able to pip Lewis Boubier and Connor Botting ahead of the two Prime Motorsport Audis. James Slates out of the final corner, takes victory for the AMs of the final race of 2022. Wow. What a race, David. What a championship. What a season.
Absolutely fantastic. What a brilliant season. Some very, very worthy winners. I mean, I'm thinking back to the whole entire championship. It's just been absolutely amazing. You know, we started this off way back. It feels like forever ago in October back at Spa. Then it was on to Hockenheim. And through the past sort of 3 months, we've really been treated to, you know, an exemplary display from these drivers here, Zach. It's been such an awesome privilege to see this all happening and to be part of this as well. Everybody, every single driver out there can hold their heads up high after this season. They've all done incredibly well, and yeah, just a proper privilege to be part of it.
An honour to be alongside you, of course, in the commentary booth. Ewan O'Leary, as we say, has been joining us for the duration of this season as well. It's been an honour to be able to call this season of racing for all you lovely lot at home. Thank you so much for supporting us in the YouTube chat, joining us week in, week out to just watch the amazing display of action that these guys managed to put on. I don't know how they do it. Some of the circuits we go to, you look and think, how are they managing to overtake this well around here? But of course, they still manage to do it week in, week out, and we can't wait to see what the future holds. We'll take a look through the final results then of race number 2, round 10. What a way to round off 2022, it must be said. Here are the pro standings. Chris Chatterton takes the victory ahead of Harry Wills and Stuart Reynolds for Twisted Racing Team. The two Mercedes have a perfect end to the championship for them. Kieran Smart, Neil Butler, your pro champion, rounds off the top 5. Thomas Dandridge in behind him in P6. Eric Shamantis P7. Andy Miller P1 in race 1. P8 in race 2, could have been the win, but bottled it on that last lap on the run in towards Skyline. Callum Beeman and Kenny Harriman, your top 10 for the pros for race 2 of round number 10. To the Pro-Ams next, of course, we're going to run you through the order of them. Stuart Viners takes his first win of the season, 7.4 seconds clear of the Finn of Juha Huutonen, who closes his narrative of 2022 and of season 4. What a way to end it. Bittersweet, of course, his first podium, but it could have been his first win. Jeremy de Boy for the Belgian, a quiet podium to P3. Michael Patterman, Ashraf El Haddad 4 and 5. Your Pro-Am champion, though, of Lucas Romano, one that was sort of tucked under the rug, I think, over the course of this race. A scary moment earlier on, got back on track, fought back, and a valiant fight back it was for the Belgian to take the Pro-Am champion. John Williams, P7. P2 in the championship for him. Dean Timms, P8. Francois Peugeot and Simon Dodd, your top 10. Didier Vlaming and Simon Dodd, of course, not taking to the start of this race either. Well, Simon Dodd was involved in a pretty hefty incident earlier on. The AM Championship and the AM standings for this race. James Slates, P1, P2 in the championship for him. Mark Bailey rounds off in second place. A great podium for him. Again, so many good results being shoved under the rug over the course of this race. Dirk Bouts, the champion, in third place as well, with Gus Frank and Navarro de Boiva. A pretty good top 5 for the Belgian. Lewis Boubier, it was a good season, not quite good enough though, and it's only 6th this race, only, I believe, 3rd in the championship. Kurt Van Hoenacker, P7, Carl Pierce, P8, Jurgen Nocker and Johan Reigns, your top 10, with Connor Botting bottled the championship. P11, Jasper Charks in P12 rounds off the AM field for this race. And before we go to interviews, David, I mean, again, we've said the rule is to say, I think, but it would be nice to hear from some of these drivers, get their perspective on the championship, and just a good opportunity to reflect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we'll have a lot to listen and a lot to pick up from them. But I personally, I don't just want to hear from the race winners and championship winners. I want to hear as many people that took part in this championship as possible, because it'd be great to hear from everybody's point of view how they got on this season, and if they're going to be back for season 5, for example.
Yeah, it's always good to get as many interviews as we can done and dusted at the end of this season. The first person we're going to grab, because if we didn't, we'd get absolutely shot by those in the YouTube chat. It is, of course, Juho Huhtinen. Mate, we've got to remain impartial. We've got to not be biased. But we all know it. We were all rooting for you in that race. Second place, your first podium of the season. Could have been your first win. Is it bittersweet, or are you just happy to be on the podium?
I don't know. I feel happy. The season has been long. Let's say like a short term. It's a long season with lots of driving mistakes, lots of bad luck, but still it has been one hell of a season. I love it, all the moments on this season. Driving with the guys, talking not so important things on Discord, and I mean it has been a fantastic season.
We agree, and it's good that even though you haven't had the best of results, you still have shared a great season, and it's nice to know that you've made some friends, built some funny relationships over the course of this season as well. Yeah, bittersweet, of course, for today, but you cannot take away anything from your performance here at Bathurst. The pace just switched on, and while it is mixed emotions for you, it's the perfect way, I think, for you to round off the season overall, because of just how difficult it's been for you.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and it was. I was talking with one of my friends here before the race that I just want to come here and drive, and whatever the final position is, that's gonna be it. And then on the second start, we just drove like, I don't know, with Stuart like 50 minutes under 1 second of gap. It was like quite a taxing experience. Then I took 1 liter too much fuel on the pit stop, and he got past me, and then on the forest elbow I hit my left front tire on the wall and got meatball flag, and my steering wheel was crooked after that, so couldn't push him at all. I gave it all. I'm like smiling here because it was so awesome to drive. We had a good fight, and both gave room and both didn't give room, but there was no contacts. Like that was like, I think like the best example of how fun sim racing can be.
Yeah, and again, it is important for you to enjoy what you're doing. Final question, of course, we've got a lot of people to get through. I think everyone in the YouTube chat was rooting on for you. Got anything you want to say to the fans?
See you next season.
Nice. That's what we love to see. Short and sharp. Finnish style, of course. You take care, Juho. Enjoy your holidays, and we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good work.
Thank you very much. Juho Huhtinen then, your favourite man, ladies and gents. We're going to take a quick word. We've got a lot of people to choose from, but I think what we're going to do is have a quick chat with John Williams. Ooh. Bit of we saw you after race 1. I don't think we're going to get the same tone from you after race 2. You did everything you could to stay in second in the championship. You did exactly that, but not the way you wanted to kickstart race 2 there.
No, it wasn't, but you know, it's like I said in the first race, it's racing, right? It happens. I'm gutted, yes, but I just wanted to come in and just say thanks to you guys for putting on a great broadcast, and thanks to the league. And this was my last race under Eclipse. I just want to thank them as a team. They're a good team, and they're a great set of guys. And Teach, Rise, Uke, used known as Chris Jadderton, Twiggy. Without Twiggy, the setup's just mental. Yeah, that was it really. That's all I wanted to come in and say. And thanks once again, guys.
Cool. Thank you very much. Take care, and we'll see you in the new year.
See you later, guys.
John Williams then, P2 in the Pro-Am Championship. After that, we're going to take a quick word with Lewis Boubier. a season of ups and downs for you, it must be said. You and your teammate Connor Botting did very well, and it seemed as though you were going to be the dominant force in the AM Championship. Unfortunately, Dirk Bouts and James Slates were able just to pip you at the end of it. Not the final round that you would have wanted, but definitely a lot of positives to take from this season.
Oh yeah, being my first season in the league, I didn't know what to expect, what was going to happen out on the track. I think when everything was fair on track, everyone was racing mid-season, I really showed my form. Last few races, I think some emotions have got to some people and some teams, and things just haven't worked out in my favour. But, I'm still happy, looking forward to what next season brings. And I think, I'm going to look forward to it.
Nice. That is always a good thing. I think any aspirations already for next year? Maybe you're going to enjoy your off-season, you're going to come back strong?
I hope so. I know what to expect when I come back. I don't know whether I'll still be an AM or if I'll be put in Pro-Am, but either way, I'm coming back to win races and have a good time.
Of course. Well, you enjoy your holidays, you enjoy your new year, and we'll see you in 2023.
Yeah, thank you guys for the great coverage.
Thank you, of course, for watching along, and take care. We'll see you soon.
Literally breaking it.
Christy, that was awkward, a little bit. Sorry about that, David. I do apologise. That's probably messed up the stream just a little bit. I do that all the time. They leave the group, they leave the Discord voice chat themselves, and then I end up dragging out someone else. I've done it to myself countless times. David will get the thing. Honestly, it's embarrassing how many times I do it when I'm doing interviews. Honestly, it's tough. Anyway, I digress to embarrass myself. David Christy will get the Discord feed up for me very soon, I'm sure. We're going to take a quick word with. We've got loads to choose from. Again, there's choices. I think what we're going to do is take a quick word with Chris Chatterton. Race victor, of course, of race number 2. Wasn't made easy, though, for you, was it, Chris?
Oh, was it not? It was a throwback to the old days with me and Andy Miller. A long time ago we fought for the AM title. It was back to the old days. He had that Ferrari singing tonight, absolutely singing. And it would have been a monster finish if it wasn't. I think he got a bit too much inside curve and it just unsettled the car and spat him out. But what a drive by Andy to win race 1 like he did and then push me so close. Brilliant.
Yeah, you both shared a fantastic fight. It kept us on the edge of our seats all the way through. It must not have been easy for you to be looking back, to focus on Bathurst and to put up with the pressure of a fight like that as well. Looking in reflection over the course of this season for you, Chris Chatterton, it's not necessarily the championship charge that you would have wanted, but still up there, I believe, in the top 5 in the standings. You can't complain.
No, P3 overall is going to be an incredible result for me. I spoke with Harry at the end of the last season and I said maybe if I picked a proper car and didn't pick stupid cars I might actually be able to sneak into a top 5, and I've done more than that. So I'm really happy with how my season's gone. I'm gutted for John. We've worked to get him up to speed here especially, and it's a shame that for my teammate, but elated to get the win for the team and for Twiggy who does the setups for us. A bittersweet night, but on a personal note for me, it was a brilliant night and a brilliant way to end the season with 2 wins in 2 weeks.
Yeah, not bad at all for you. 3rd place in the championship, of course. Take care. We'll enjoy your holidays and we'll see you in 2023.
Yep, thank you for the broadcast. It's been brilliant. Thank you very much.
And you, thank you very much for being here. I won't drag him out because I'm sure he's going to leave by himself. Fingers crossed. There we go. We're going to take a word with our championship winners then, because we just do not have time to get through everyone. We do apologise. We'll drag in Dirk Bouts then, the AM championship winner. I think we just cut you off mid-conversation there. I do apologise, Bouts. But a good season for you, it must be said. You can't complain with that.
No, definitely not. I mean, first time I speak to you gentlemen, I've kind of, remained on the background. Just doing my thing, keeping it safe, staying on track and keeping it consistent, and at the end it kind of paid off. Definitely not the fastest on track, that's for sure, but I think if you look at consistency, I think from that end I kind of deserve to get the title. I'm very excited about that.
It's not always the fastest car that wins, it's the ones that finish week in, week out in those top 5s, in those top 3s. That's exactly what you've been able to do. And yeah, that AM Championship, very, very close indeed. You've done very well, it must be said. You've been the man on form, and it was a very quiet horse. It must be said. You were working your way through very slowly, because in all honesty, I thought it was going to go the way of Connor Botting or Lewis Bouvier at some point in that championship, and I'm sure yourself and James States did think so as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we thought the same. I mean, definitely Lewis was hitting some great lap times, and it's just, but the difference was made between making some errors, yes or not. And like I said, I mean, I think I definitely had the least incidents and the least off. What is it? I had no drop score. I think I had like minus 75. So kind of speaks for itself. Not necessarily the most exciting way to win, but that's okay by me. I mean, it paid off, and I'm the champion. Absolutely, yes.
Exactly. Of course, the aspirations for 2023. Are you going to take a nice off season? You're going to chill out. You're going to relax. You're going to enjoy your holidays. Are you hungry for more next year?
Absolutely. Enjoying this since a few years after, since COVID. Hit the track, meeting a lot of friends. Making new friends, new people. It's very exciting. It's very cool. So enjoying every minute of it.
Awesome. Well, you take care. We've got a couple more people to get through. You enjoy your holidays, and we'll see you.
If I may, I just want to say a major thanks to our super fans, Mrs. Arlette and Mr. Felix from Flanders, Belgium. They're actually grandparents for one of our team members, but they watch us every Wednesday evening, even though it's in English, which is not that easy for them. But all thanks to them for watching us every week. Pretty cool.
Awesome. Love the support, and yeah, take care. We'll see you in the new year. Dirk Bout's the AM Championship leader and the winner at the end of it. We're going to take a word then with the Pro-Am winner, Lucas Romano. You didn't take the most amount of wins that year. You had a scary moment in race 2 as well. Did you ever at any point think the championship was in doubt?
Yeah, for sure. I gave up really, but then I saw John standing behind me in the pit lane. So it was really the question who had the longest repair. I guess I just got lucky. I got a few minutes less repair time, and yeah, the luck came my way this time.
Not bad. I mean, not the way you would have wanted to win it, but you did it by 17 points in the end. Michael Patterman was looking pretty good to leapfrog you both in that final race as well, but you managed to get back on circuit. You managed to push on. The determination sees you win the championship. You and John, over the course of those 20 races, jostled for position so many times. You were so close on pace, and yet you still won by 17 points. Your consistency was unmatched over the course of that season.
Yeah, thanks, man. John, he pushed me all season long. It was really amazing. I think we both pushed our level to a new high. But it was amazing. Really couldn't imagine at the beginning of the season this would play out. It's amazing.
It is indeed. Well, I mean, you've taken the Pro-Am, you get the prizes from IMB Racewear at the end of it all as well. You get some gloves, you get a top, and you get some boots as well. Not too bad at all. Not a bad turnout for 10 weeks of racing to do some pretend race cars. Not too bad. Looking forward into 2023, can we expect you back? Are you again hungry to claim a title?
Yeah, for sure. I will be back, but I will skip a season, I'm afraid, because I'm moving. And so the sim will not be in place for a couple of months, but I think I'll skip one season and then I'll for sure be back.
Priorities, honestly, where are they at? It's not good enough, Lucas. No, I'm
I'm sorry, mate.
It's not good enough. No, it's someone else's turn to win the championship next year, I'm sure. Take care, enjoy your holidays, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Can I say thank you to some people?
Of course you can. Go for it.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank my girlfriend for tolerating me 10 weeks in the living room. And then also we have some two broadcast watchers that watch every week. They are Felix and Arlette. I'd like to thank them also.
Cool. Well, yeah, you've always got to thank your missus when it comes to this one. I'm sure you got to treat her for Christmas, haven't you?
I will.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, you take care. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, mate.
Cool. Lucas Romano, Pro-Am Championship winner, of course. Neil Butler, we'll drag him in next to have a chat with the Pro winner of this year. Neil Butler, well, this is a conversation I think we knew we were going to have for a couple of rounds. That last race, not the way you would have wanted to win it with a P6. You didn't quite get the win and the championship all wrapped in one, but the championship win, I'm sure that's all you're fussed about.
exactly. I mean, yeah, the Porsche was just an absolute stinker around here. It was just bottoming out no matter what we did with the setup. I mean, a big shout out to teammate Carter for his help with the setup, because I was losing my mind with it. But it was just such a hassle to get this car around here. I think there'll be a big update to it before Bathurst 12, for sure. It's just broken.
Fair enough. What was the main issue with it? Of course, I think visually it was more the straight line speed than anything, was it not?
It was a straight line speed, but then across the top of the mountain it was bottoming out. And with the other cars, when it bottoms out, they kind of understeer. But with the Porsche, when it bottoms out, it just snap oversteers.
Oh yeah.
So it was just, it was crazy. But the first race as well was actually a lot cooler than we tested. So when in the cooler temps, it was actually going about 2 mil lower as well, which was just ridiculous for some reason. But yeah, it was just a bit of a mess. I'm sure they'll sort it out though with the patch soon.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
You still come home to win the championship, so I guess that's all that matters. Reflecting over the course of your season, Bathurst not the way you would have wanted to round it off, but the rest, the other 18 races, you, Stuart Reynolds, Albin Kjellberg, Chris Chadderson, everyone involved in that fight for the pros. It was not made easy for you at all. You came out on top by a fairly sizable margin as well. Just goes to show, I think, of how good of a season you've had.
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean, hats off to everybody who's competing in it as well. And Stuart took it right to the last round. Albin was really quick in the start of the season, and Elliot as well, who dropped out halfway through, but he was giving us a good chase as well. So the competition's been really good, to be fair. So hats off to everybody. I think I've just been pretty... I've not always been the quickest, but scored well in each round.
Yeah.
I think my drop round coming into this was like 71. So, and that would have been enough to win it tonight. So yeah, consistency's been key, as well as some decent pace. Like Hockenheimring, that felt hyper, to be fair.
Yeah, well, a lot of positives to take. Looking forward into 2023, can we expect you back? Do you want to make it 2 and 2?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what next year's brings. So yeah, let's see what the schedule looks like and see what's what.
See if the Porsche's quick, basically, is what you're saying. But no,
I definitely won't be racing a Porsche again.
Fair enough.
This car is in the bin for now. Hopefully get back to the Audi or the Ferrari for the future.
Cool. Fair enough. Of course. Anyone you want to thank? Have you had a lot of support from other people? Any thank yous you want to make just while you're on broadcast for the final time this year?
Sure. Big thanks to Carter for the setup, and Cal and Andy for sticking with us for that. They've been working with us, so that's been really good. And then also, I'm just going to tip the hat to good old Hugh, who I took his number for this one. So I'm going to go and raise a glass of whiskey for him. So that's it. Cheers, boys, and thank you for everyone.
Cool. Take care. We'll see you in the new year. Neil Butler, your Pro Championship winner of season number 4 of the IMB World Series GT3 EU. Unfortunately, ladies and gents, that is going to bring an end to this coverage of season 4. It's a sorry goodbye, I'm sure, a disappointment to everyone. And, well, we cannot wait to be back for season 5. As Harry Wills said, early February is when we are expecting to be back. What is in store? Are we going to have the 3 categories? Are we still going to have the reverse grid? What is the car lineup going to be? Who is going to be on the grid? A lot of unknowns, a lot to be excited for. It's been myself, Zach Sweeney, David Christie, talking you through all of the action here for round 10 at Mount Panorama. We've also had the addition of Ewan O'Leary in the commentary booth alongside us for the European. Do stick around if you want to watch another season finale of the Americans taking to the track in a few hours' time. But until then, on our side of things, what a year it's been over the last 2 seasons. It's been a privilege in the commentary booth. I've shared it, as I say, with Ewan O'Leary, David Christie. It's been a fantastic year for me. I've thoroughly enjoyed commentating over a variety of series, and particularly this one. It's not often you fall in love with a series, but this for sure is one of them. Week in, week out, they deliver, and I hope you guys at home have enjoyed it just as much as we have in the commentary booth. Thank you to those behind the scenes for putting on this show, because without them there wouldn't be any racing to watch. We would be out of a job and you guys would be without entertainment. Thank you to you guys, of course, for the support, keeping us entertained in the chat and giving us the banter to get through each and every race. However, I do have to say goodbye. I'm hanging on for it as much as I can because I don't want to let go. We'll see you in the new year, ladies and gents. 2023, what does it hold? Take care. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and goodbye.